Carl's a pro hitman, and while trying to take out a rich guy, a pretty woman suddenly walked right in front of his scope. He quickly aimed back at the target, but couldn't help sneaking one more look at her. Realizing he was losing focus, he calmed down, checked his watch, heart rate 65, his perfect shooting zone. The moment the rich guy stepped back into view, Carl fired. But right then, the woman moved again and accidentally took the bullet. Carl tried to reload for a second shot, but the bodyguards had already spotted where it came from and closed the curtains. A pro sniper usually only gets one chance. So Carl packed up his gear, grabbed the bullet casing, threw on his helmet and rushed downstairs. He hopped on his electric scooter and sped through back alleys as police cars showed up. He dumped his gun parts, ditched his clothes and helmet, shaved, cleaned up, and sprayed himself with cologne to get rid of any trace. At the airport, he tossed his wiped-down pistol in a trash can, but a sniffer dog started staring at him. Even though he'd cleaned himself, he wasn't about to take that risk, so he ditched his flight and hid in a bathroom to clean up again. Later, he booked a new flight, but just before boarding, his boss called. Carl knew what that meant. When a killer screws up, sometimes their own boss sends people after them too. He smashed his phone, tossed the SIM card, and stayed sharp even on the plane. He noticed a guy in sunglasses watching him. After landing, Carl switched flights with a fake ID, and guess what? The sunglasses guy did too. They even ended up in the same waiting area. Carl decided not to risk it, changed his flight to the next morning, and checked into a hotel. He ordered dinner, made sure it was a real waiter, and set a trap with a glass and plate by the door to alert him if anyone came in. He also grabbed the dinner knife and sat in the dark, ready. Luckily, nothing happened that night. Next morning, he flew back to the Dominican Republic. His car was waiting, but Carl still didn't chill. He kept switching lanes, avoiding cars driving next to him, just in case. When he got home, he spotted 2 big footprints by the door and a pile of cigarette butts. It wasn't his wife. Someone had been waiting for him. Carl grabbed a gun, snuck in through the side, and saw more footprints leading into the house. Loud rock music was playing, but his wife was gone. His brother-in-law later told him 2 people had attacked her, a man and a woman, and once they thought she wouldn't survive, they left in a green cab. Carl moved his wife to a private hospital, then dug up his stash of hidden weapons. Dressed like a tourist, he hit the streets looking for the cab. He found one, got the cab company's name, and that night when it was quiet, went to their office pretending to need a ride. The second a worker opened the door, Carl shot him. Inside the office, he checked the car records. One cab had been near his house 2 days ago. He traced it to a curly-haired driver. To cover his tracks, Carl trashed the office, left some cash around to make it look like a robbery, and left. Next morning, he waited outside the garage. When the curly-haired guy drove out in a green cab, Carl followed. After a bit, he got ahead, hailed the cab like a normal customer, and once inside, pulled a gun. The driver freaked out and tried handing over his wallet, but Carl wasn't after money. He asked about the passengers from 2 days ago. The driver remembered them, a big guy and a skinny girl. They had landed on a private jet, hired his cab, went deep into the woods to a private house, then rushed back to the airport. Now Carl knew, only his boss knew his address, so his boss was behind this. Carl flew to New Orleans using a fake ID. He had 6 storage units there full of weapons and gear. He grabbed a pistol, 2 bullets, a fake passport, a new license plate, and got moving. His boss lived in a high-security apartment that scanned your face to get in. Carl dressed like a janitor and waited. Soon, a delivery guy showed up, and Carl followed him inside with a trash bin. The delivery guy got off on the 4th floor, where the boss lived alone. As soon as the door opened, Carl started counting. If he didn't get inside in 7 seconds, the door would shut. He peeked through the crack to see it was the boss's secretary. When the coast was clear, he rolled in his trash bin, carrying a gun and toolkit. The secretary was terrified, but Carl wasn't there for her. He wanted her boss. He made her tie up the boss, then tie herself up in the bathroom. But Carl left the door open a little so he could keep an eye on her. The boss, pretending to be a lawyer, actually ran hits for people. He was the one who sent the attackers after Carl's wife after Carl botched his job. Carl asked for the client's name. The boss refused. Carl didn't care. He grabbed a nail gun and fired nails into the boss's phone and computer. The boss claimed the info was on his computer, now destroyed. Carl didn't buy it. He shot 3 nails into his chest. If those weren't removed in 6 minutes, he'd die. The boss acted tough, saying he wouldn't talk even if he died. But after 3 minutes, he dropped from a heart attack, probably from all the smoking. Carl laid down newspaper to catch the blood, stuffed the body into a trash bin, and cleaned up. He let the secretary go, but took her and the trash bin down the elevator. Even when 2 people got in, the secretary stayed silent. She knew Carl would kill her if she made a sound. Back at her place, the secretary pulled out the hit orders. One had the names and numbers of the attackers, a musclehead named Biao and a skinny girl nicknamed Q-Tip. Another order had the client's name, Edward. Now Carl had everything. The secretary thought he'd let her go, but while walking down the stairs, Carl quickly snapped her neck and made it look like she fell. He took the boss's body to one of his warehouses and dissolved it in acid. 300 pounds of body packed into a barrel. Now it was payback time. For the muscle guy, Carl bought a steak soaked in booze and sleeping pills to knock out his big guard dog. Once the dog passed out, Carl walked right in. but Biao ambushed him and beat him badly. The dude was jacked, obviously a fighter. Carl was losing, so he grabbed an iron hook and jammed it into Biao's shoulder. But the guy was a beast and still reached for his gun. Carl dodged into another room, found a pistol under the bed, and as Biao burst through the door, bang. One shot. Done. The gunshot woke the sleeping dog, who felt bad for messing up, and charged Carl. But Carl dodged outside, lit a torch and tossed it into the house. Even though the dog saw everything, Carl knew it wasn't gonna snitch. At the airport, Carl cleaned up and went after Q-Tip. He followed her to a fancy restaurant where she was on a date. Carl walked right in because if a woman gets killed, people always blame the boyfriend first. When her date went to the restroom, Carl sat in his seat and pulled a gun. She instantly knew she was done. She begged to finish her last meal. Carl, being human for once, let her. Then she asked to take a final walk. But Carl wasn't that type of guy. Without a word, he raised his gun and shot her right there.